Good afternoon, Mr. Sowell.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
I want to welcome you to an episode of the Honor Cafe Hall of Heroes.
Well, thank you, sir.
And that's where we met. We met at the Honor Cafe.
Yes, sir, we sure did.
It was New Year's evening.
It's been a wonderful deal ever since I met you. I've enjoyed it.
You know, that evening, we were all tired out and going home, but you were still going strong. It must have been 1 o'clock in the morning, and they were trying to kick you out of the place. Where do you get all your energy?
I don't know where I got it, but I'm that way all the time. I don't ever get tired, but I still work every day.
Sir, how old are you?
I'm 96 years old.
And you served in World War II?
In October the 9th, I'll be 97.
97?
Yes, sir.
Well, happy birthday ahead of time.
Well, my goal is 107.
107.
Right.
Why 107?
I don't know. I just come up with that a long time ago. And I hold on to it.
You know, I won't doubt it at all if you make it.
I'm going to make it.
Okay, then you're going to make it, and I'll be there for that celebration.
Thank you.
So where are you from?
I was born and raised right here in Walker County in Huntsville.
Huntsville.
Not in town, but I'm out of the city limits.
So when was that? What year was that?
1925.
1925.
Yes, sir. I finished high school here in 1943.
1943. And
Yes, sir.
when did you enter service?
1943.
How old were you?
Well, I was too young, but I lied about my age and got some people to swear that I was old enough.
How old were you?
I was 16.
16?
Yes, sir.
What did your mama say about that?
Well, they didn't know it. See, they didn't want me to, and I run away from home and got somebody to sign the papers that I was old enough.
And why did you want to go so bad? Why at 16?
I had two brothers in World War II, and I wanted to go.
You did?
Yes, sir.
What did they do?
One of them was in Patton. He drove a tank for Patton, and he got killed the last week of the war, my older brother. And my other brother was a tail gunner, and he got shot down and wounded and lived over it.
And what did you do in the military?
I was a tail gunner. And any gunner that they needed, they used to draw straws, because I'm going to tell you what, I was raised on a farm, raised up using a rifle, and when I shot at something, I hit it. I knew what to do.
When you entered service, you knew you wanted to be a tail gunner?
Yes.
That was a B17 Tail Gunner.
Yes, sir.
How did you know that's what you wanted to do?
Well, I don't know. I just, I'd heard about it all the time. I'd seen pictures of it on the news. And I just wanted to be one of them.
Usually, when you join the Army, they tell you what you're going to do. How did you manage to get that job?
Well, then, you could volunteer for certain things. And I did volunteer and went to a school. And they taught me how to shoot them guns,
Where was the school?
It was in Florida.
In Florida?
Yes, sir.
So, did they take you up in a plane and you shot at targets?
Yes, sir.
What kind of targets did they have flying?
They was always dragging something, behind an airplane.
All right.
Yeah.
And I guess they could maneuver it so you could.
They could turn it around and turn it over, whatever, dart it down, up.
How long was that school?
It was 3 months.
3 months.
That's all. I learned fast.
And then you were off to Europe.
Went over to Europe, yes, sir.
How did you get to Europe?
They flew us in planes over there.
They did. You didn't have to go on a troop transport ship.
Of course.
No. So when you got there, how soon till you were up in your first mission?
2 days later.
2 days later?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I was even in North Africa, too.
So we'll talk about North Africa in a minute, but when you got to Europe and in 2 days' time, I mean, how did that feel? That must have been pretty scary.
Well, I was a young kid and it didn't make no difference, It really didn't. I was just ready to roll, ready to go.
But did you know that most of the people flying out were getting shot down?
Oh, yeah, I knew it. But that's the reason I wasted a lot of bullets. I shot everything I could see.
So you were really successful.
Used to draw straws.
They drew straws.
To see who I was going out with.
You were that good.
Yeah, well, I was good.
So what was the difference between you and other tail gunners?
I don't know. They was all good. But I just shot down so many planes, They just liked me. I don't know why.
How did you know if it was the enemy or not? Because I imagine...
You could tell.
You could tell?
Yes, you could tell.
How far out did you start shooting at them?
When I seen them.
When you seen them?
I started wasting bullets. And I shot them down, too.
Were you in radio communication with the fighters at all?
Oh, yeah. You can... You could talk to them.
Okay. So if they didn't answer, or
No.
they answered in German, you knew that.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you were in Europe. How long were you in Europe?
Well, we was over all during the war, you know, till it was over with. I graduated from high school here in 1943, and when I got over there in 1944, and I stayed till the war was over.
You know, I've seen a lot of movies. Of course, they don't compare to the real life, but I've read articles as well that said, you know, if you had 13 missions, you could stop, but you had a lot more than 13 missions.
I did. I didn't know nothing about that stopping. I never
They-
heard about that.
They
one.
probably just didn't let you know.
The pilots used to draw straws to see who I was going out with
And,
because I was such a good shot.
and you told me they let you eat with them, the officers'
They
mess
did.
too.
They didn't let me get off nowhere. Yeah.
Oh man. So I've seen those planes, and we'll show some pictures on the videos of the planes. You had to crawl back into that spot, right?
That's right.
And then you had armor plating, and you had to reach your hand around the armor plates to grab the weapon, right?
You're right.
And it was cold up in those planes as well.
Oh yeah, it's cool.
So you were fighting the elements and surviving it all.
Yeah, but I didn't pay no attention to that. I was after the enemy.
Yeah, at one purpose.
That's right. I wanted to shoot them down.
What was what was your secret to success? And I know that, you know, the tail gunner, that's probably the optimal spot to be shooting them down, is what I've read. But why do you think you were so much more successful?
Well, I don't know. It just I wasn't scared, and I shot, you know, what I aimed at, and I took my time aiming, getting my gun ready. When I pulled that trigger, 9 times out of 10, it shot something down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you get leave to come home during the war?
No.
No leave time.
Well, I did one. I got one time for 30 days.
30 days.
Yeah. That's where I met my wife. She's dead now. She wasn't 13 years old. There's an article out in a paper about that. I met her, and she was too young to go out. And I met her. She worked at Old Butler Grimes here in Huntsville.
Yeah.
And some boys in town told me about a pretty little girl, but she said they can't go out because she's not old enough. And the next day, I walked by the Old Butler Grimes, and I seen her in there, and I went in there and spoke to her. That's all. The next day, I started passing this taxi cab, and back then they didn't have no air conditioner, and there was a hand sticking out. And I looked, and it was her waving at me. So I just backed up and followed that taxi where it was going and went to her house. We got out, and when I was talking to her, Mama come outside, and what are you doing talking to that soldier? Get yourself in this house.
She didn't know you were just 16 years old.
Anyway, instead of leaving, I followed her up to the door.
Uh-huh.
And I told her my name was Lynette Sowell. She says, Sowell, you came kin folks up in Madisonville and Midway? And I said, Mom and Daddy both came up there. Daddy was raised there. Mama was a Dickie, and she was raised there. And we kept talking. After a few minutes, she says, we're having supper. Come in and eat with us. Her mama told us that. I went in and ate with them. And we got to talking, and Daddy was a convict guard. He came in. I shook his hand, you know, and we talked. And her mama said, you know what, I like you. You seem to be all right. And I said, yes, ma'am, but I'm leaving tomorrow. And she said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to let y'all go to the show. I've never let her go out with a boy before. I'm going to let y'all go to the show. But you better be back at 10 o'clock or I'll have the law pick you up. That's what she told me. And anyway, we was back. And I left here. I didn't think nothing about it. Well, the next day I went by Butler Grimes on my way. The train station was at Phelps, Texas, and they had everything down there, you know, catch the airplane. They had a field down there and everything, you know. But anyway, I went by there and talked to her a minute, you know, and you couldn't write or anything. I was gone 2 years and 11 months.
You couldn't write?
No, I couldn't. I was moving around too much, you know.
Did you have a letter that in case something happened to you, just like send home?
Oh, it was, yeah, I had all that.
Yeah,
I had it, yeah.
But you didn't have any contact with, you didn't write her at all?
You know.
Wow.
I was gone 3 years and 11 months.
And then when you got home?
I walked in that store, and here she come running. We hugged each other. And that manager said, that's all she's talked about these 2 years. I said, well, that's about all I've thought about, too. And I said, well, you might as well give her 2 or 3 days off because she'll have me. I'm going to marry her. And the woman looked at me and she said, she ain't very old. She was 16. I said, that's all right. So anyway, I went to her house. Mom and Dad and I asked them, and they went with me to the wedding.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Those are different
I
times.
was married. I was married 73 years. We had
Wow.
5 boys, and she died in May of last year.
I think back then you had to grow up a lot quicker with
Yeah,
war and everything.
Sure did.
Had understood responsibility to make a living.
And there wasn't no such thing as a job.
Yeah.
And Mama, she had a phone, and one day she told me, there's a major trying to get a hold of you. So I used her phone and called him, and he was from Lackland Army Air Base then.
Yeah.
He said, you got a job? I said, there ain't no such thing as a job. He said, yes, they are. You come to Lackland Air Base. I went over the next day, and I was permanent party over 3 years and 11 months.
So you trained, after the war, you were trained in gunners.
Well, everything.
And at what rank were you then?
I was a major, sergeant major.
Sergeant major.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty phenomenal.
I had a good job.
So
I don't know why I didn't retire. Never just back then you didn't think nothing about it, you know.
yeah, you just worked hard, did what you could do.
Mm-hmm.
When you were over in Europe and you were flying your missions into Germany, what was it like? I mean, because the flak must have been terrible.
It's terrible.
Those 88s pounding you the whole way in and the whole way out.
Yeah. Well, when they moved us to North Africa, it was a whole lot better, you know. See, I was in North Africa a long time too.
Talked about that. What were the missions like there?
It's about the same as Sowell and those other places, you know. We flew out of there and flew back.
Yeah, but it was pretty dangerous as well.
It was exactly, I believe it was more dangerous.
Did you?
We lost more planes.
Did you really?
Yeah, sure did.
What percentage of planes would you think you lost when you went out?
I don't know. We lost a lot of them. Yeah, a lot of them got shot, you know, come in, you know, and had to repair and that kind of stuff, you know.
Was there ever a time when you had to bail out?
I never did have to bail out.
Never did.
No.
Do you ever get like near misses with flak or bullets coming through the fuselage, or think, how did I survive that?
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know how I survived the whole thing, but I did. I don't know.
Yeah.
Lord was on my side, I guess.
What was it like? I mean, talk us through a day. I mean, living through war. Talk us through a day in North Africa. You know, what it was like, you know, from getting up in the morning to getting on that plane. Just talk me through a day.
Well, you knew what you had to do. When you got up, you went and eat breakfast and you done what you had to do and got on that plane. You know, because nobody had to tell you anything. Nobody told me anything. I knew exactly what to do. And I had my, you know, in the afternoons when they come in, we loaded our bullets and stuff in there, you know, and cleaned our guns and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And always had a spare or two, you know, sometimes 2 and 3 of them, you know,
Yeah.
just in case. But it was a different world than what it is now. We prepared for that, you know, prepared for, and we prepared for getting killed. You know, I thought any time I went out, I wasn't going to be back unless I was in the plane dead, but I lived over it.
When you got into the plane, and did you crawl right back to your position, or did you sit somewhere else when you took
No,
off?
I got in my position because you never knew. Because them planes enemy was coming in, you know, and I was ready for it.
Did you have fighter coverage when the fighters that were covering you as well?
Yeah, we had fighter.
Yeah. They knew to stay out of your backside.
Sure did.
Yeah. So when you were in North Africa, where were you bombing? Where were your bombing runs going to?
Just everywhere, all over, everywhere.
Were you going up to Italy?
Anywhere the enemy was, that's where we went.
Were you flying into Italy and bombing the bridges there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you were doing it there. Yeah. When you were flying, was there a certain type of aircraft that kind of worried you more than any other? You know, that you were like the Messerschmitts, or were you more concerned in different areas or different days when you got a report, like, you know, your briefing before you went out?
Well, they just told us to be prepared because, you know, the enemy was there.
Yeah.
And I looked for it. That's why they didn't like me so well. When I seen a plane, I shot. I didn't mess around. I wasted a many bullet. But I shot a many of them down too.
Yeah. When you towards the end of the war, did you notice there was less fighter pilots coming?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it was less and less things to shoot down.
Yes.
But more and more flak, I imagine.
And then, you know, we finally got to where we could fly over into Germany, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what ended the war, because we could get in there.
Yeah. Did you so the bombing runs got longer then? I mean, because you were going longer distances, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was just more flak.
You're right.
When did you start hitting the flak? I mean, when was that usually? When you got close to the target, or was it pretty much along as soon
When
as you
I seen him, I started shooting.
No, I mean the flak, the 88s, the flak that was coming up from the ground. How long was that when you were getting closer to the target, or was it?
Well, you never knew where it was. Just didn't know.
Yeah,
It allowed to be closer, it allowed to be a long ways. You just had to just hope that you could live over it,
yeah.
and hope it didn't shoot you down, and all that kind of stuff.
So when you were flying night missions, how did you see the planes? How did you shoot them down during
Well,
night missions?
I didn't fly too many night missions. Most of mine was in the daytime.
Okay.
I flew a few of them, but you couldn't tell whether there was an enemy or what. And the radios didn't work exactly right. But, we didn't fly too many night ones, unless we just flew in and shot the enemy and then get out real quick.
Yeah.
We've done that a lot of times.
Well, how many bombing missions do you think you flew?
Shoot, I don't know. I never did count them because I went every day.
Every day.
Yes, sir. Every day.
7 days a week.
Yeah, we went 7 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah, they weren't no such thing as Sunday.
How was it when new guys would come in and you beat out, you knew a lot of these guys coming in weren't going to make it, and you'd been there a while. I mean, how do you deal with that?
I don't know. We really didn't talk too much about it because we didn't want them to get to where they didn't want to go out. That's what you got to worry about. You tell them, "Oh, man, you're gonna get killed." Hey, that's the wrong thing to do. But I kept telling them, "You live over it. Don't worry about it. You got a gun, shoot first."
Yeah.
I told all of them, shoot first, ask questions later. And that was my motto right there.
Shoot first, ask questions later.
Right.
Wow. And
I lived over it.
And how many years again were you over there during the?
Well, I went over in 1943, and I couldn't tell the war was over.
Wow.
I stayed when the war was over.
Did you remember bombing Berlin?
Oh yeah, sure do.
Wow.
Yeah, I told you about me losing my older brother in World War II, didn't I?
Yeah.
He was in Patton. He drove that tank in Patton. The last week of the war.
When did you find out about that?
After the war was over.
You got home.
Yeah.
That must have been pretty difficult.
Well, they brought his body in after the war was over too,
Yeah.
And he's buried here in hospital.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was your brother wounded to the point he couldn't return, or did they send him right home?
They killed him on the spot.
No, I mean your other brother. Your brother
he was a tail gunner. He got wounded.
Yeah.
I think they sent him home. Of course, back then you didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
I didn't even get any letters from home all the time I was in Army. I never did because we couldn't get mail where we was at because we was moving around too much, North Africa. We was in Ireland for a while, even.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where were you flying when you were in Ireland? Where were you doing your missions?
We were coming bombing Germany.
Bombing Germany.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think? When you think about all these different things going on in the war? When they told you you were going to bomb Berlin, what was the emotion like?
I was ready to go.
Were you ready to go?
I'm telling you, I was
Did
ready.
you know that the war's probably over at that point when you were bombing Berlin, or did you just want to go?
We didn't care.
You didn't care?
We did not care. Because, there's many of us that got hurt and planes got shot down. Hey, we meant business when we went out.
When you got home to your mama and you run away from home and she had, already had 2 other boys over there, was she mad at you?
No, she just prayed that because I was home. She told me she said a prayer every day for me. I said, well, something happened because I lived over it.
Yeah, I think so. I think your praying mama was the main reason you came home. How many brothers do you have, or did you have?
I had 3 brothers and a sister.
So all the boys were over there.
No, my younger brother's too little. He was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He was too little. Yeah. And then your sister.
Yeah, my younger brother, his son is a sheriff of Grimes County.
Really?
Yeah, that Don Sowell over there.
Yeah.
That's my brother's boy.
Wow.
Yeah, he I think he's been 13 years as sheriff.
Yeah.
They don't like him too well. He didn't get but 97% of the vote in November. And you know what? The guy that was running against him, he hired him.
Wow.
Yeah. He told him, he said, you want to be a sheriff that much, I just hire you. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you again for being on the program.
Well, I appreciate you. I wish you'd have told me what we was going to do. I'd wore one.
You look fine, sir.
Thank
Very
you.
distinguished.
Thank you.
All right. Sir, I want to thank you again for being on Honor Cafe Hall of Heroes.
Appreciate it, sir. Thank
It's
you.
an honor to meet you, and we just are so privileged to have you here and to talk to you and everything. And hopefully we'll see you at Honor Cafe again real
You're
soon.
going to, because we go down there all the time, and it's an honor for me to be here today. I'll tell you that. It's really an honor.
All right.
Thank
you, sir.
I appreciate it. In fact, we'll be at Honor Cafe tomorrow.
Well, I
Me
may
and
see
my
you
lady
there.
friend.
I may see you there.
Well, come on over and see
All
us.
right.
I'll be looking for all of you.
All right. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Honor Cafe Hall
Sure.
of Heroes.
Be sure and save me some copies.
We will.